Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over a very entertaining email that was sent from a subscriber. That's from a guy. He is 55 years old, happily married, kids, the whole 9 yards, great life. And he shares his entertaining story about how that started 30 years ago with his first serious girlfriend. And as you're going to see in this story, guys, the theme of this is they always come back. You're going to see back then he was very beta, clueless, nice guy, that type of thing. And this gorgeous gal who was his first girlfriend, of course, cheated on and walked all over him. And eventually you're going to see that he finally accepts her true colors, and she doesn't give up. Her whole life, she's constantly chasing after him. And to the point that, guess what? Many divorces, being tossed around by Chad and Tyrone. Nope, her life is crap, his life is good. And that'll be a good one to go over here, guys, just to show you the important thing that they always come back. As long as they want something, of course. Always. Even decades later. And, of course, how for those of you guys out there that perhaps right now are going through a bad breakup, you were dumped or cheated on, and you're really hurting, or it happened recently, you can know that if you get your shit together, sooner or later the same girl that did you wrong is going to be begging you back. Doing anything she can to get back in your life, and you are going to have the pleasure one day of basically telling her to go F herself. I kid you not. And the important lesson here, and pay attention to this, guys, because I say this often. For the most part, when women develop a certain perception of you, it is darn near impossible for them ever to change. In other words, if you dated or in a relationship when you were 22 years old with her, and you were a typical nice guy and kissed her ass and she walked all over you and all that type of thing, paid for everything, you get the point. And then it ended, and you moved on, and you changed, and you gained knowledge like this, and you start having self-respect. 10 years later, when she's chasing after you because her marriage failed or something, and you're doing well, she's going to still think you're the same pushover that will, of course, take her back because she's so amazing, and have her way with you, and just cannot believe you changed. And that can go on forever. So a lot of very funny things I talk about often you're going to see in this story right here. So definitely grab your popcorn. He says, hello SSM. After hearing dating horror stories from my college-age kids, their friends, and younger coworkers, I came across your channels and have been watching several videos a day. They are a great resource for me when mentoring 20-something guys. Thanks for the important work that you do. I wish this had been around when I dipped my toe in the dating pool. Dude, I wish I had this when I was younger, but I had to learn the hard way. I am happily married and in my mid-50s. But I wanted to prove one truth you've mentioned several times in your channels. To all the young men out there, remember, they always come back. Yes, they do, sir. But let me add on to that. They always come back if they want something. If they are content in the moment, whatever situation they're in, you're not going to hear from them. But the second things don't go the way they want, then they're going to go back to all the guys who they've perceived as being weak or pushovers they can get something from, and then they'll go after those guys. And it's nice when all these guys surprise them that they're no longer pushovers or weak. So here's my story. I joined the military right after high school, and a couple years in, the daughter of a family friend began writing me. When I glanced at the photo she included, my jaw dropped to the floor. 10 out of 10. I mean, holy crap, she was gorgeous. The perfume in the envelope didn't hurt either. Well, as I'm sure you're aware watching the channel, 9s and 10s are not relationship or marriage material. They are hookup material, friends with benefits. Why? Well, in the age of dating apps and social media and all that type of thing, and just the level of narcissism has gone to a whole new level, it's not worth your time. You'll make yourself crazy. You're renting one of those. Relationship material are 6s and 7s and 8s on a case-by-case basis. Let us call her Emily. Really sweet gal, gentle, and seemed pure as the wind-driven snow. Get the fuck out of here. My ideal of what a woman should be. After writing back and forth for a few months, no email? Okay, you're in your 50s, so alright, okay, back then, technically there wasn't email yet. After writing back for a few months, I had a long leave back home where we were inseparable. I was crazy shy when I was young, which means Emily was my first serious girlfriend. Which meant you were seriously eating out of you were eating out of the palm of her hand, wrapped around her little finger, her sweet as snow little finger. I stayed with her at her folks' house days on end, and she stayed with my dad and stepmom when I slept over there. We were in love. More like puppy love, but what you gonna do? Okay, you're young, first love, and it didn't hurt that she was absolutely gorgeous, and she was chasing after you initially, so, But, well, guys, you know how these stories go. Now, a note on the family background is in order here. My stepmom and Emily's mom were best friends since high school and still hung out at the time. Both were thrilled with our new relationship and encouraged it as much as they could. Well, that's nice. They thought it was great, but usually these situations aren't very good. They could hear wedding bells ringing in the distance. It was a real-life version of the dumbass romance novels that they love to read. Yeah, that's why they're stories and novels for entertainment. They're not real because these things usually don't work out like they do in the novels and the movies. Outside of a short leave or two, I was stationed far away, so our contact was mostly by phone and letter. Long distance smack. Yeah, smack, but you didn't know. And the whole relationship thing in the military. I thought things were going great and couldn't wait for my enlistment to end so I could come back home, attend college, and we could live happily ever after. Oh, for goodness sake. 3 months before I got out, my stepmom mentioned that since life had just been so stressful for Emily, it's understandable she was seeing other guys. What? What was that, stepmom? As far as you knew, you were in a serious committed relationship and you were staying true and blue to her even though you were deployed someplace else and had leave on occasion. I'm sure you could have banged a few girls. She's seeing other guys and your stepmom is okay with this? I'm sorry, what now? Stepmom thought I knew. I most certainly did not. Calls, letters, and explanations came in fast and furious from Emily and her mom. Still, I was crushed. I was surrounded by temptation during my stressful military gig, but always stayed loyal to her. Everyone we knew was expecting eventual marriage, kids, the whole 9 yards, but I felt betrayed. Because you were betrayed. So, okay, maybe your stepmom wasn't aware that you didn't know this at the time. I'm not surprised. This is why I say don't get in relationships in the military. Looking back, we were really young. I was 22 and she was 19, but I knew the relationship was over. Well, I'm sorry that happened to you, and I know this is decades ago, but still I hurt you back then. I'm sorry that happened to you, man, but you know what? You had to go through that to learn the hard dose of reality. There was no YouTube back then. I was the ultimate nice guy back then. I took after my dad that way. He was lured into an office affair by my stepmom, not to excuse his terrible judgment, and when my parents divorced, Mom had an affair tool. He immediately married the new chick. Stepmom wore the pants in the relationship, and when Emily's mom visited, he acted like the beta to both of them. Well, smack to your dad. Yeah, exactly. He was cheating on your mom with this broad, and then married her, and then she walked all over him because he thought he got some prize here. And I'm sure your stepmom cheated on your dad. And then this stepmom was no problem. You dating her other friend who's probably just like her daughter, and then her daughter behaves like probably her mom and your stepmom. And now I question whether your stepmom actually knew that you didn't know these things, Perceptions are everything. All three women in this situation saw what a nice guy was and figured I was a chip off the old block, which I was for a while. Well, just because you start off on one path, guys, doesn't mean you have to go the rest of your life on that same path. A couple of years later, I was 24 years old, halfway through college, and things were looking up. I hung up with a big group of cool people, had a few brief relationships with hotties, and I lived only a few miles from Emily and her family. Oh, how wonderful. My roommate and I planned a party at our place with one of my friends' bands that were playing. Emily's mom called a few hours earlier. I can't believe you moved near us and didn't let us know, she said. And he says in parentheses, why the hell would I tell you, harpies? She also heard about the party from my stepmom and asked if she and Emily could stop by just for a minute. Nope, not a chance in hell. Bitch cheated on me, we're done. But now we're getting into, they always come back. Why is she reaching out? Well, because probably Emily was riding the carousel for a few years, and now Emily wants to get married and figures you're the same old nice guy you were, and you take her back. That's what I think is going on here. Call me crazy. I said, why not? Emily shows up looking even hotter if that was possible. She saw the pretty redhead I was with that night. We'd only dated a couple times, and Emily targeted me like the Terminator. Every dude hit on her, but she was on a mission. A week later, Emily and I were exclusive again, which meant exactly as you'd imagine. Smack! You jackass, so you didn't learn just yet. God. Yeah, she was after you because her options were limited. I'm going to say her options were limited because obviously she had a reason. And then she saw you with some hot redhead, which made her even more into you. I've always been a relationship guy. Yeah, we know. Not only that, I was a marriage guy. I didn't see the point of dating a bunch of gals just for fun. I looked at dating as a job interview for a wife and the eventual mother of my kids. Well, you know what? I got no problem with that back then on the basis that it wasn't nearly as bad then as it is now, you know? But still, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm glad you're traditional and had values and all that. And yeah, I would love it that we have a world where people are more family oriented. But still, you got to take care of you. And your goal at that time in your life shouldn't have been marriage and kids, but focusing on your purpose, establishing yourself in the world, and let them chase after, they always say, wifing the girl up, if you will. She should be chasing after you. But a good one. Coming from a broken home, I wanted to get married once and only once. No cheating, no divorce. And if the marriage fell apart, I would hang up my spurs. I need a partner who was all in. I was decent looking, but ended several dates when the pretty girl said I was marriage material, like that was an insult. That is an insult. When you're young, in high school, college, and they tell you you're marriage material, or you're the type of guy every girl would want to be married to, that's an insult. That means you're in the friend zone, or they'll, or maybe if for a moment they want to have a relationship, they'll try you out. Because guess what, guys, and get ready for a big laugh. I was told many times in college that I'm the guy that every girl want to marry. Do you think those girls fucked me? Nope. Not until I got tired of all that and got an attitude real quick and did a 180 briefly and started acting like an asshole. Then all of a sudden they didn't want to marry me, but not those girls, but other types like them. Yeah, I've been like, I told you guys in the past, I was the nice guy. I was the blue pill guy. Yeah, I learned. I knew Emily had cheated before, but we were young and dumb back then. Besides, she was a perfect 10. She must have learned her lesson and totally changed, right? Fat chance. Yeah, smack. They don't change. If she's a 10, or what most guys would consider a 10, guess what? She has an endless supply of guys. And she's not going to learn shit, because she can do whatever she wants, and she knows it. And she's in her prime, 24 years old. Come on here. Once a cheater, always a cheater, and they don't change. And this whole thing you said, like, wanting to find the right girl because you're in a broken home. Well, the problem with guys that come from broken homes are they tend to rush things a bit too much without a lengthy screening process and vetting the girl properly. And they end up making the same mistakes that maybe their dad and mom made. So here's some more background on me. I'm pretty religious. I figured that, dude. And wanted to save SCX for marriage. Even in the 1990s, that was considered pretty weird. Emily kept trying to get me to sleep with her, and without protection. I never realized what that was about until I saw one of your baby trap videos a few weeks ago. I was such a dumbass. Yep. She wanted to get you pregnant, and then that's an insurance policy that can pay huge dividend. That's an investment that can pay huge dividends to her for years and years and years. And you were the nice guy to fall for it. We got close and took every ounce of my strength not to give in. But that was important to me. If I gave in, I figured she wouldn't be able to trust me in a marriage. She wanted to get married and hinted about the wedding and the ring and all. You get the drift. All that was only a few weeks into our new relationship. That's why she came back, dude, because now she wants to get married, have that ceremony, have, and she's looking for her sure thing nice guy. And guess what? You fell for it. Or could it be maybe she happens to be pregnant and is trying to rush things along, and then you get together and you sleep with her and, oh, it's your kid. Who knows? To be fair, I was cool with all that, but I need a commitment that we were compatible on the whole religion thing and the whole non-cheating thing. She said she was totally down, but after a few months, she had to study late with Chad from her college or have lunch with her good friend Tyrone because he was having a rough time. Great. So your girlfriend is hanging out with other dudes and she has a history of cheating and you're allowing this bullshit? That's when you should say, nope, not happening. You shouldn't have gotten back with her. But, we're getting back together? Okay, you're not hanging out with other dudes and this and this and this. That's what should have been going on. As you always point out, watch what they do, not what they say. I was pretty upset and knew she hadn't changed a bit. We broke up, but I agreed to be friends. Smack! Why? Because deep down you were hoping that she would change and you can get a third chance with her. Then I met Emily for lunch and she wanted me to pay for the bill. I see what kind of friendship that she was after. I immediately fled the friend zone and ended any contact with her forever. Thank the Lord. Well, you had to learn. And now you learned. And guys, does this situation here really sound any different than stories from right now in 2024? No, not at all. The next week, I jumped in my car, drove 1,000 miles, thought a lot, brooded a lot, drank a little, and once back, I moved on. Still hurt, but I had to be done with her. You know what? I think that road trip saved your life. And frankly, that's cool. A good road trip's fun. Whether you're with bros or just by yourself doing some serious thinking. 9 months later, I'm 25 years old and Emily was engaged. That proves she was never in love with me, and she was in love with the idea of getting married. But staying out of contact is tricky when she's a friend of the family. Well, your stepmom's a hoe bag, obviously, so fuck her. But then again, your dad's married to her, obviously, and he can't say no to her. But, yeah, it was a challenge. So before long, my dad and stepmom invited me over for dinner. And who do you think showed up unannounced? Gee, who could have been? Emily and her new fiancé. What? Your stepmom's a bitch. She did that on fucking purpose. Great. Right when I started healing, they're going to rip out the scab. Now I expected her new guy to be some kind of stud. As it turns out, he was a nerdy schlub who acted like he was terrified I was going to beat him up. Imagine the baitest beta man you've ever seen. I'm not surprised. She went after her sure thing. This is what I tell you they do. When they're ready to temporarily take a break from the carousel, they go on a mission, and like the Terminator, like you said that, and they found that nice guy. This guy was a sure thing to her. And I guarantee you, he got the bare minimum in the bedroom, if he got any at all. Instead of being jealous, I just felt sorry for this pathetic guy and imagined the hell that he was signed up for. Well, he should have told him. I'm not trying to insult him. I've had a few friends like this. He's just not this bad. Emily was still smoking hot, and her mom and my stepmom kept trying to get us to interact that day. Instead, I spent 5 minutes reassuring the beta I wasn't going to beat him up. Wishing him the best. Yeah, good luck, and I bolted. This setup confused the hell out of me. Not only did Emily have another guy, she was engaged to him. Still, those harpies were trying to lure me back to her for some damn reason. Yeah, he was the guy right now that she could have a sure thing, but of course, if she could get you back, she would drop him like a bad habit and go on to you. Not because she was in love with you, but because you were better than him. Now, this became a pattern. They kept ripping off the scab. Every time my dad and stepmom invited me over, there was Emily, unannounced. Then why didn't you say to your dad and stepmom, hey, dad and stepmom, yeah, I'll come over for a fucking barbecue, but if goddammit Emily's there, I'm going to turn around and leave. Enough of this fucking bullshit. You know we broke up for a darn good reason. Stay the fuck out of my business. You're a grown-ass man, a military man, you know? Come on here. My dad was utterly clueless and just wanted to keep the peace. I guess ignorance is bliss. No, your dad was just a pussy. Let's be honest here. Your dad was an appeasing, passive, pushover pussy. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you love your dad, but let's be honest here. We gotta be, no sense in bullshitting ourselves. Your stepmom walked all over him. Leading up to Emily's wedding and after her wedding, it continued. I told my dad I wouldn't go to his house anymore, so the unannounced visit stopped. See, that's what happens when you speak up and stand up for yourself. For a while, at least. Then it turned into every 2 or 3 times I visited, she would stop by because she was in the neighborhood, which was a long way from her and her beta man's house. Every time I'd rush through 2 minutes of polite conversation and leave. I mean, get the point, honey. Yeah, Emily's a 10 out of 10. Did I mention that? But I felt so bad for the beta hubby. I mean, what the hell? What a poor bastard. She annoyed me so much, she dropped to a 9 for me, then an 8. What I tell you, they always come back. Right? That's the overall theme of this story here, amongst other things. Emily had the beta man's kid, hope it was his, and named him after me. What an insult to that guy. That guy went along with it. He knew your name, obviously most of your history. I mean, what a pushover. And I do not think that child was his. So she still kept popping in my life. After a couple of years into their marriage, I'm about 28 years old at the time, my stepmom and Emily's mom complained that her beta husband was controlling and abusive. Yeah, right. This dude couldn't abuse a housefly. See, they're saying the same shit back then, right? There's no way this guy was abusive, but her interpretation of him probably saying, you know what, I don't like you doing this. Oh, well, he's trying to control me. Now, I'm still polite, but have a powerful bullshit detector. When someone tries to BS me, I smile and nod. Then I utterly cut them out of my life and never ever do what they say. I like to keep things drama-free. I couldn't care less that they think I'm a wuss in the moment, only to find out later that their BS destroyed any personal or business relationship we'd ever had. Cross me once and you're dead to me, no drama needed. I'm the same way, except I will call people and their bullshit to their face. When the Harpies complained about Beta Man the abuser, I finally lost it and got sarcastic. I said, I'm sorry, Emily rejected me for such a total badass, and I said with a smile. I then said, no woman could resist a man's man like him. That punch and his slumped shoulders show how violent Beta Man is. How can he be so mean to her even though she never, ever cheats on him and won't even look at another man? I mean, she's always been so faithful. She's like a character out of the Bible. Now they have a child together. I'm totally positive it's his kid. I'm sure he'll ease up on her. What was their son's name again? I went on like that for a long time. Might have included a few other things. Dude, that's hilarious. Both of them fell silent, looked a little pale, and I left. That finally stopped the unannounced visits. Notice what happens, gentlemen. What happens when our guy here speaks his goddamn mind. Right? Results happen. That's why you got to stand up for yourselves, guys. And if it means you're perceived as being rude or anything like that, fine, whatever. Or an asshole. And remember, when women say you're an asshole, you're doing something right. Fast forward to me being 30 years old now. Over the past few years, I've been dating a gorgeous, smart, and compatible 25-year-old. She also saved herself for marriage. Holy crap, man, so you're 30 years old and you still haven't done the deed. Well, you were serious about that. And if that was important to you, I respect that nobody was going to break that important thing for you. Also, she was cheated on by her last boyfriend and immediately dumped him with extreme prejudice. She's not as diplomatic as I am. Just brutal, but a no BS gal with my own heart. I eventually proposed and we started planning our modest church wedding. Okay, so you found a girl that has the same values as you do. That's ideal. Obviously, religious faith, want to wait till you get married. Obviously, you're going to find out on the wedding night if, in fact, she truly was a virgin, which obviously she was. I would have waited a little longer to propose, but okay. During my engagement, my stepmom and Emily's mom would keep bringing up Emily with a little panic, saying someone needs to save her from Beta Man the abuser. I told them I didn't want to hear a damn thing about her, but they kept yapping. Of course they did, because in their mind, just like Emily, you're the same nice guy you always were, and eventually you'll cave and take back amazing Emily. See, guys, once they have the perception of a guy, it's darn near impossible to have it changed. My lease was up 3 months before my wedding, and I wanted to save some dough for my wife and I to get our new place. So I reluctantly stayed with both my dad and stepmom. Oh, look, Emily just happened to be in the neighborhood again. Hey, here's her baby with my name. And by the way, she's going to be staying here for a few days while her beta hubby is on a business trip. Oh my God. It would have been worth you staying in the cheapest roach motel than staying with your mom and your dad and stepmom and have Emily there. And with now you're engaged and she's going to try to cause problems for you. After that last nonsense, I left for good and crashed on an air mattress at my old college roommate's house until I got hitched. They did not have his address, and I forwarded all my mail to his Dropbox, or to a Dropbox. 2 months before my wedding, my stepmom asked if Emily and her mom were welcome to the wedding. No. I told them it'd be fine. Smack! What? Stepmom said, oh hell no. She asked again. She gave my number to Emily's mom, who asked if they could come to the wedding and the rehearsal dinner. Oh my God. Finally, I told my father it was time to man up. Dad, you know I love you. We've always been close. I know you just want to keep the peace at home, but I will never invite any ex to my wedding, ever. It's disrespectful to me and especially to my wife-to-be. You're damn right. If stepmom asks me one more time, neither of you are invited. I will give pictures of I will give pictures of all of you to my usher friends, and they will block you from entering the church. Is that understood? So you have now become the man of the family. You right there and then you laid down the law with your old man because he's such a fucking pushover. I had a longtime girlfriend throughout college, and her dad was one of the toughest alpha males I ever knew, and he intimidated me back then because I was young and all that. I was with his daughter, but he was a good guy. And his dad was a total pushover. And the story is that at 19 years old, or about 21 years old, he was in Vietnam for a couple of years because he went to Vietnam at 19. He came back, and really that changed him. And he saw that his dad was just the same bullshit with his stepmom and everything. and my girlfriend at the time's dad punched him out. His dad was being a total pussy. There was bullshit going on, and he punched out his own dad. Yeah. So good for you for standing up to your wuss of a dad. Or at least putting him in his goddamn place. Dad then remembered he had a pair. He agreed completely and told me Emily's marriage and life was a train wreck and blasted all 3 harpies. Good for your dad. And good for you for laying down the law with him. He needed you to shame his ass. He read the riot act to all of them and definitely included a lot of details. He forbid Emily from ever popping up again if it was at his house. So my wedding goes great, and the ushers were on the lookout. Later, when I'm 35 and have 1 kid, Emily would occasionally appear at places I was known to visit. This chick is psycho. When I'm 40 and have 2 kids, she'd do the same. Not too often, and every couple of years or so. It's decades after a breakup, and I still have to keep my head on a swivel. It seems Beta Man divorced her at some point. Gee, I wonder why. I don't know how your wife hasn't tracked her down and beat the ever-living shit out of her. Seriously, you said your wife is, you have same values, and obviously she's a good person, but she doesn't take any bullshit. I don't know how she hasn't tracked her down. Next, I'm 45 years old. And post pictures from a conference. A few with younger, attractive female colleagues I happen to work with. Nothing happened with any of them, by the way, but my dumbass finally figured out a few of them tried to. My stepmom passes the pictures to Emily, who tries to friend me on social media. I politely say no because I'm married. When I'm 50 years old, my stepmom tells me, your fucking stepmom's still alive? When I'm 50, my stepmom tells me Emily has cancer. That's so sad, so I say I wish her the best, and she tries to friend me again, and I block her. 50 years old, she's still trying to reach out. So you started dating, I think, I forget, you were 24 or something, early 20s, and darn near 30 years later, she's still chasing after you. At some point, she married another weird-looking schlub. Good luck, pal. A couple years later, I take my daughter to get a blood test at a local lab. As soon as I walk in, someone with a big smile says, "Hi." Emily's behind the counter. Turns out she works there. Oh, Jesus. She's about a 5 in the looks department now. Imagine that. What do they say? Men age like Sean Connery, and women age like Sean Connery. A year later, I schedule another test for my other daughter a few days in advance, and at a totally different location to avoid her. Hey, there's Emily again, saying she's working at this new location just for the day. This chick is psycho. Today, I'm in my mid-50s, still happily married to my hot wife with both our kids in college. Once my dad passed away, I stopped interacting with my stepmom. Thank the Lord, you have no reason to talk to her anymore. I spent decades aggressively avoiding Emily, avoiding even hearing news about her, etc. For all I know, she's had 4 more husbands, 100 Chads, and 200 Tyrones. But in her mind, and in all those harpies' minds, I guess I'm still the nice guy, desperate to take her back. The moral of the story is simple. They always come back, fellas, and they will never stop, ever. Yep. It's just like in The Terminator when Kyle Reese was telling Sarah Connor, in describing the Terminator, he says he'll never stop, ever. You know, they can't be bargained with. They can't be reasoned with. They don't feel pity or pain or remorse. And they will absolutely never stop, ever, until that's this bitch. And that's how these girls are. They're so obsessed with these guys, they just think the guys will take them back. Because they still think they're the same weak guy. And they think, well, I'm just as amazing now at 50 years old as I was when I was 22. Have you looked in a mirror, honey, lately? Anyhow, so that's hilarious. So, bro, I'm glad you've had a darn good life and married a great woman and kids, have a happy family. That's wonderful. And I'm so glad eventually you laid down the law with your dad. Hopefully he grew up here after. Well, I guess he didn't grow up here after that permanently because he still was with your stepmom. But there you go, guys. As entertaining as this is, a lot of lessons in this story. So I appreciate you writing in your story, man. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And let this guy also know what you think. And also, guys, you got a great story to share. Definitely email to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Just give me some time to get to it, and I definitely will. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.